What a great honor it is to be before you today. President Knudsen and Secretary Treasurer Hunter and President Brommer, all of you, my very special friends Elliott Side, Bob Bradelich, and Cliff Fuller and Mike Busing, without whom I wouldn't be here today. All of you, the AFL-CIO, for your friendship and your support, for your endorsement, for waiting until after the primary to do so. Those of you supported one or another terrific candidates, you did yourselves very proud. I'm very honored and very blessed and very fortunate to have the support of all my good DFL friends, as we promised we would on August 11th. Bound together by a cause that's greater than those of us candidates, cause larger than even all of you. A cause that represents all of your members, the men and women you serve and lead, and all the people of Minnesota. A cause of electing a governor who will serve the people of the state of Minnesota. A governor who will put the people of Minnesota back to work. A governor who will put state government with all the great people in Ashby and Mape and elsewhere, and give them the leadership to put state government back to work for the people of Minnesota. A governor who will respect those workers, as I did when I was Commissioner of Economic Development and Energy and Economic Development and State Auditor, who knows they're dedicated people throughout state government, throughout local government, who just want to have somebody who says, I'm with you, I'm on your side, I respect you, I'll work with you, and together we're going to make government better for the people of Minnesota. Instead of a governor or agency heads who get paid more than anybody else, but run on the ideology that government does everything badly. And then if they're elected, they go out to prove themselves correct. They defund the programs, they destroy the programs, they lay people off, and don't even show up for work themselves. And they come back in 4 years and say, well, see, we've proved our point, we've made government worse, so re-elect us and we'll make it worse again. Well, that's not going to happen if you elect Yvonne Pretner-Solon, Lieutenant Governor, and myself, Governor of Minnesota. We're going to work with you, A governor who's going to support dedicated teachers and nurses and police officers, peace officers, firefighters, to provide the essential services that the people of Minnesota depend upon. I've told many of you before, the most challenging job I ever had was the first one I held as a public school teacher in New York City, because I learned right away the kind of dedication and skill it takes to become an effective teacher. And I learned right away you could not reach individually 32 children in a 9th grade classroom with 4 different languages back then, and many kids who couldn't read or write beyond the 2nd or 3rd grade level. And I thought, thank goodness we got something better in Minnesota, because we have a commitment to public education, which we had back then, which we've had in the past, which we'll have again if I'm governor, because I will restore the commitment of the state of Minnesota to public education. And nurses and others who devote their lives, as they did to a young intern in my office who was hit and severely injured by a drunk driver just a few days before the primary, was in Regions Hospital with round-the-clock nursing care, one-on-one. Thank goodness they're dedicated women and men who are willing to do that every hour, every day, and every night, save lives. And when we have the commitments that we need to provide the staffing and the salaries that nurses deserve and those who work with them, then we'll know Minnesotans will be assured of having that quality health care that their lives depend upon, that they deserve, that they can afford, and we'll provide that in the state of Minnesota because we have a commitment. Those of you who work in the private sector, the building trades, those of you who are maybe looking for work or represent those who are looking for work, you know, I grew up, as you know, in a different background, much more fortunate circumstances than most people do. I remember running for the Senate the first time back in 1981, 82, and early on one farmer looked at me and said, you know, Dayton, we're all born with original sin. You're just born with more of it than the rest of us. But I learned something through my experiences, especially working for the last great jobs governor of Minnesota, Rudy Perpich. Rudy taught me about the importance of a job. He taught me, as he learned growing up, that when that lunch pail is on the shelf, it means bad times because his dad's not working, and all the serious consequences in the home that come with that. And good times meant his father's lunch pail was on the kitchen table being filled to go to work. And I remember walking with Rudy because Rudy was never somebody to walk away from problems. He was never one to turn his back on difficulties. He's the one who taught me you go to trouble. He's the one who taught me the reason that I went to Owatonna last Saturday to go help with the cleanup, because when there's people in need in the state of Minnesota, when there's distress, you go to where the problems are. You go even when you go up to Butler, Taconite, and Nashwauk and Keewatin back in the 1980s, and you walk into a high school filled with 500, 600 people, and they're looking at you in desperation, you know, hoping and praying you can pull some magic out of a hat. And as Rudy said, you know, there's some times when all you can do is hug them and cry with them. But you go there because you care. You go there because you care. You go there because you care. Because you're not too busy off in Iowa or New Hampshire or somewhere else where you don't belong when the people in Minnesota need your help. And that's the kind of governor that I will be. And like Rudy Perpich, I will go anywhere in this state or this nation or this world where there's a job to be gained or a job to be saved for Minnesota. I was so grateful early on when I had the support of the Steelworkers Local 7263 in Newport, because they remembered when I was a U.S. Senator and Gerdau Steel, a company in Brazil, acquired the operation from Cargill, and there was a labor impasse and 350 jobs were in dispute, that I flew myself to Sao Paulo, Brazil, and they credited that with breaking the impasse and helping to save those 350 jobs with a decent contract. And that's the promise I made to them, and that's the promise I'll make to you. I'll go anywhere in the state or nation or world, the job to be gained from Minnesota. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And that's why I'm going to do everything, if I'm elected, that I possibly can, starting on January 1st, to help put people back to work all over this state, to work with private-public partnerships, to do what government can do. And yes, there are things that government can do. I've got an opponent who believes the government should do nothing at all. Well, if you don't believe in government, then don't try to run it. But those of us who believe in it, who know there are things we can do, like a bonding bill, $1 billion bonding bill in January of 2011, not wait until 2012. That's 28,000 jobs in the private industry, construction and building trades in Minnesota. 28,000 people could be working and will be working if I'm governor of this state. A stadium, a people's stadium, not a Viking stadium, not anybody's stadium, a people of Minnesota stadium. Put 8,000 people to work for 3 years building that and putting a financing package together that's going to support the people's interests, that there are more tax revenues coming in from those people working and providing jobs and the vendors and the like. Not financed out of general revenue, not in competition with schools or healthcare or the other essential services, but by the users of the stadium. And Senator Tom Bach and others have put together that kind of proposal. I'll advance that kind of proposal. We'll roll up our sleeves and negotiate that kind of proposal, because we're going to put people to work in Minnesota on behalf of the people of this state. Like an energy savings fund modeled after what I've witnessed at the University of Minnesota Morris, where they've retrofitted all the buildings in that school, putting people to work doing that, retrofitted the heating and cooling systems to use alternative fuel, buying alternative energy, in this case from the local farmers, corn stalks, putting money into local economy, pelletizing them, gasifying that, saving $1 million a year for the taxpayers and lower energy costs, and then putting that in a revolving fund and loaning that back out to other colleges and universities and the public, local and state government buildings, school buildings. In a decade, we could transform the energy use of this state in the public sector, put thousands of people to work retrofitting those public buildings and heating and cooling systems, putting people back to work, saving the taxpayers money, creating an alternative energy industry for the future of this state. That's the kind of commitment that I will have if I'm governor, to doing everything I possibly can to put people to work all over the state of Minnesota. You can be guaranteed. That's a guarantee. And then, when those of you in the public sector retire, I want to make sure you have secure retirement benefits through defined benefit plans. You bargained for them, you negotiated them, you earned them, and you should be able to depend upon them. Now, some of my opponents are trying to divide private sector workers and public sector workers by saying, well, you know, in the private sector, they don't have defined benefit plans, and unfortunately, the way things are going, a lot of the corporations sloughing off their responsibilities. Some people tragically don't have retirement benefits at all. But you know, the workers in the private sector do have a defined benefit plan. It's called Social Security. It's a defined benefit plan because you know when you retire, if you paid in, you're going to have those benefits for the rest of your life, for the rest of your spouse's life. If you pass away, no one's going to take them away from you. You may not get rich, but you can sleep at night knowing that that income is going to be there, and you can count on it and you can depend upon it. And that's a fundamental promise of the Democratic Party of this country, and no one's going to take it away from the workers of America or the workers of Minnesota. Because I don't want ever to have to look in the face of a widow again, as I did up in Two Harvards. A woman who lost her husband just about 3 weeks before one of my town meetings up there, and he'd worked 31 years of his life for U.S. Steel. And after he died, somebody read the fine print in the pension policy and told her that her pension was being reduced to $50 a month. $50 a month. For 31 years, that man worked for that company. And she's looking at me with tears streaming down her face, saying, how do they expect me to live on $50 a month? Well, that should never happen in this country. And I called a friend who called a friend, and he couldn't do anything about it, but if I'm governor of the state of Minnesota, believe me, I'll go do something about it, and I'll go to wherever it is I need to go to talk to whoever I need to do to get that woman's pension restored if I possibly can, and to protect every other pension, private sector, public sector pension, so people can retire with dignity and respect. So this election is about the future of Minnesota. It's about whether we want to go 4 more years carried to a further extreme of where Minnesota's been going today, with overcrowded classrooms and 4-day school weeks and layoffs and wage freezes and involuntary furloughs and higher property taxes, or whether we're going to make the state fair and just again and have it serve all the people of Minnesota, and the people in the upper incomes who can afford to pay some more in taxes will do so that we can have better quality education, so we can have affordable tuition at the state colleges and the University of Minnesota, so we can provide quality, affordable health care for every Minnesotan, so we can create this public-private partnership and put people back to work all over this state. That's the choice that Minnesotans have, and it's a clear choice, it's a definite choice, and it's one that's going to be decided on 36 days from today. And the reason that I need your support and your help every one of those days between now and then. And if with your great help and the great AFL-CIO and all the friends and I'm blessed to have, you help Yvonne Pretner-Solon and myself get elected, then I guarantee you that we will roll up our sleeves and we will work every day and every night we are in office on behalf of you and the people you represent and all the people of Minnesota. You won't agree with every decision I make. I don't even agree with myself all the time. These are going to be tough tough decisions. There's no popular, easy way to balance a $6 billion deficit. If this governor had done his responsibility, we wouldn't have that mess, but we do. And so we're going to have to roll up our sleeves and work to carry it out. But we're going to do it. And I'll do it, as I say, down on my knees every night, praying for the wisdom to make the best decisions for all the people of Minnesota. You have my word. And I invite you to join with me, because an administration is just what it says. It's a whole group of hundreds, literally thousands of people, leading agencies, in various boards and commissions, various ways of connecting with people. We need to reconnect government with the people of this state, and we will. We need to bring in people who have been shut out for the last 20 years, people who believe in government, believe in making government better, who haven't been given the opportunity to serve because of a political affiliation that we happen to share. That's going to change. And we're going to bring all this talent, all this energy, and all this dedication, all this commitment, whether it's the labor and industry to taking care of injured workers, whether it's providing the kind of protections that people need so they can afford to get health care, whether it's providing secure pension benefits, whether it's proactive programs that are going to provide jobs for people, whether it's going to be responsiveness from DNR or MPCA or you name it, to the people out in this state who pay tax dollars and have a right to expect that their leaders, starting with the governor of this state, are going to provide those services. We're all going to join together, and we're going to unite together, and we're going to lead this state. We're going to create what that button says, what that sign says, a better Minnesota. Thank you very much.